This show, for example, Dinner with Friends, it's a brilliantly written play, very carefully written, to the extent that I think most audiences won't realize how it holds together. And it's very difficult for actors to do because there are only 4 roles, each one is a lead, and the sentences tend to be very short. There are only 3 or 4 sort of soliloquies in the play. And so actors have to be focused the entire time on it. But there's so much in it that they play it differently each time. And it's been interesting to try to block it in a couple of times, adjusting things. I tend to be a little bit technical as a director, figuring that if the actors, if you place them in the right place and in relation to each other, it will not force them, but they will tend to present what you see and what you hope the author has seen is to be presented in that, for the character, how they stand in relation to each other. But the actors then add their own. It's a play about sort of modern relationships. There is a couple, they're very close. He's a food writer, she edits his stuff. They get excited about food, and hence the title Dinner with Friends. And they are very close, but there are subjects they sort of stay away from. They're quite different in personality, other than this commonality of food and commonality about trying to be honest but not to step on sensitive or too sensitive issues. And we see them after they've been married 12 years and they have 2 kids who we do not see on stage. The other 2 characters are a couple. The young woman is a friend of the woman in the other couple. The guy is a long time, back to early college days, friends of the husband. We find out at the beginning of the play that couple has married years ago, introduced by our primary couple, and are breaking up. And we learn why. I won't go into detail as to why. But one of the interesting devices in it is that the second act of the play begins with a flashback to the introduction. In other words, to the young married couple's introduction of the other pair to each other. And one of the reviews noted that it seems very conventional when it starts, and then it gets more humorous, and then it gets more biting, and then you learn more about the characters as it goes along. Somewhat, perhaps tritely, I don't know, but I think a lot of theater is written and developed from the outside in. In other words, events happen to people. Those events cause them to take certain actions, which then play out as the drama or comedy or whatever. This is an inside-out play. This is where, almost like maybe an onion, maybe better a flower, layers are peeled back on these characters so that you begin to understand each of them better. And although it would seem that they're very clear good guys and bad guys, as the play goes along, you discover that it's much more complicated than that. And fun. The thing I haven't talked about is that there's a lot of wonderful humor in this play, some of it very biting. It is straight talk in that there is 4-letter words, and it's the kind of thing that people really talk about when they're having really serious fun or fights. And there is a fair amount of that, and the situations are adult situations. But you learn, there are a number of times during the 3 performances that we did, because we had to cancel 3 due to the snowstorm, when you could hear people in the audience saying, "Oh, I knew it," or where people are reflecting on their own lives and their own relationships and seeing these unfold on stage that perhaps they might have tried to explain to the person sitting next to them, but never were able to, and they see it presented in the play.